Sonic fans are known for several things. Most of those things aren't very good. However, a small fraction of the overall fandom every now and then, and actually it only seems to be getting more frequent, deliver in plenty of different ways. Whether it be from gorgeous illustrations posted nearly daily, beautiful animations in both 2D and 3D, fan games, which I should know I'm helping make one, and plenty other types of mediums. Now the only one I'm here today to talk about is none other than the Sonic modding scene. They've been around since a long time ago, probably day one, I don't know, and they've constantly been one-upping themselves with incredible stage mods, original models, retextures, new music. Hell, it gets to the point where some of these mods don't even resemble the game they're modding anymore. These people are seriously impressive. But recently, let's just say my cocks have been blown off. That wasn't a typo. Shindash is someone who only recently showed up frequently in the past couple of months and has already proven his worth as well as his place in the Sonic modding community. Now, whether you recognize it or not, you might have been familiar with some of his work before, as he did the level design for Sonic Frontiers Revisited, an amazing mod that I highly recommend you all check out. However, Shindash is a versatile man. On top of this, he's taken the plunge into what I'm going to be talking about today, Shadow Generations level mods. Specifically his. Now, while he's been posting these things and consistently for like over a year, his big boom really started around 8 months ago when he started posting on YouTube about a level called Skyward Castle. The videos documenting the stage's creation did very well, so he's become a bit more prominent on the site, showing off progress on all his levels he's worked on since then. And I gotta say, I am thoroughly impressed with these. A lot of level mods come out for not just Shadow Generations, but most Sonic games, and while most of the time they're really neat, a lot of them tend to miss the mark in one way or another. Shindash hits it out of the park in nearly every way. Now, I should preface, I haven't actually played any of these levels, aside from Skyward Castle. Neither has anyone else. As of right now, we're only able to see these levels from footage he himself has posted, and in due time, they'll all be combined into a mod pack. So you might be thinking, Zach, how can you judge these levels when you haven't even played them? Well, it's actually not that crazy. This is different from a lot of official Sonic game trailers where we usually only get like small snippets of gameplay. Here, we've got the whole thing to look at. And while, yes, I'm not able to fully grasp what it truly feels like to play, it's incredibly easy to imagine what it feels like. And, because of its uncut nature, we can see pretty much all of the level design, meaning a small analysis is possible. So that's what I'm gonna do. Not like a super thorough Ajax type going from section to section analysis, more like a general one that sort of covers every stage. Before we continue, you know the drill. Subscribe to the channel or Patreon if you want to go the extra mile, and once this video's done, go subscribe to Shindash, because he deserves the support. Now back to it. The first thing you might notice when looking at the levels is the length. Pretty much all of these stages run to an upwards of 5 or more minutes on an S-rank time. Now 5 minutes for a Sonic stage is kind of a lot. In a start-to-finish game, having every stage be this long is sort of a problem, kind of makes progression feel a little weird. However, with this, you don't get that problem. This is a mod. Well, they will be mods. You are realistically not going to be playing these stages before you beat the game. Because of this, the shackles are kind of taken off of Shindash. He gets to make levels with post-game challenge and length in mind, which pretty much means we get a no-compromises set of Sonic levels, which is great. It also helps that, unlike the one 5-minute stage in base gens, the latter half of these runtimes aren't taken up with continuous and unending automation. Not that there isn't automation in these levels, however, the automation in them is balanced perfectly. They never last too long, but they last long enough to be a quick break in the action. So, the pacing of the stages, they're great, man. Just 5 minutes of nothing but solid stage design. Now, the next thing I want to point out is something I find pretty neat. Shindash isn't trying to reinvent the wheel with these levels. What he instead does is something I find to be incredibly smart. He takes the level design philosophies of Shadow Generations and pushes its strengths to the limit. This, in my opinion, is the peak of what this iteration of Boost Sonic, or Shadow, can do with its levels. It's pretty much the quality of the best parts of the game extended into a full stage roster, which is incredible in its own right. It gets even better when you realize that the worst parts of base Shadow Gens have largely been tweaked, and for a lack of a better term, fixed. These stages have a perfect balance of automation like I mentioned previously, a stronger focus on platforming, which if you know me, you know I love that shit. There's still a decent amount of homing chains in the game, sure, which you think might be a problem, and considering I haven't actually played these stages, they could be. However, from what I've seen, they seem to have been toned down a good bit, and the levels force you rather frequently to do some proper platforming without having the homing chains being stand-ins for actual platforming sections. This is a complete win in my book for me. It keeps Shadow Generations' level design philosophies pretty much intact, and is only really tweaked slightly to buff out the most undesirable parts of them, the things I mentioned prior. This is the type of level design I felt the game was capable of, only now these stages are able to keep up the momentum of quality throughout. Also, these stages have a lot of fucking paths. Now, I think there can be such a thing as too many paths. I should know. However, Shindash seems like he knows how many paths to include before it gets to be a problem. I think that's really cool. It's nice to see a set of fan levels understand the do's and don'ts of a more open-oriented level design, especially for a gameplay style such as the boost. I also love how Shadow's original moveset is used plenty throughout these stages. You're constantly using things like the Doom Spears, Morph, and Blast, and again, this is the sort of depth and utility from Doom powers I wanted to see in base Shadow gens. In the base game, it felt like there were sections clearly designed to use your powers in. It gave you a huge heads up most of the time, and it was usually the obvious option. Here, they're spliced in with normal gameplay almost seamlessly. They don't just seem like Doom power sections like they tend to feel like in Shadow gens. The Doom powers are just seamlessly mixed in with the entire levels. Now, the stages do have some 2D sections. They look awesome, however. Did you think I was complaining? If anything, I welcome this with open arms, as I find a lot of Shadow Generation's 2D stages actually better and well-designed than a lot of the 3D ones. Mix that in with the fact that most of the sections in these stages seem incredibly short and sweet, and again, I have zero problems. Really, I think that's my biggest compliment towards the levels here. The pacing is immaculate. I sort of grazed over this fact earlier, but one thing that killed certain Shadow Gens levels for me was the pacing. Too much automation, not enough space between actual platforming and set automation. Really, it was just kind of a mess sometimes. Here, everything looks like it lasts as long as it should. Nothing overstays its welcome. Things are constantly kept fresh and interesting. While I wouldn't say Shadow Gens drags on with anything outside the automated bits, nothing drags on too long here. Another thing I absolutely must point out is that Shindash understands the importance of direction. These stages are not confusing and aimless like a lot of mod levels or fangame levels. Hey, who put that there? Fuck you. Most of this is helped by the beautiful camera work present in each of these stages. There is a lot of cameras in these stages, and they change quite frequently to help you see what's in focus. Cameras are often overlooked in plenty of fan levels, so seeing the importance and usage of them here really makes me aware that this guy knows his stuff. The camera turns with this stage a lot of the time, important things are put in focus, everything is super cohesive and just instantly understandable. No camera change seems jarring whatsoever. One thing you've probably noticed by now are all the visuals accompanying each stage. Now, it seems like most, if not all, these stages are made with reused assets. Not like it's trying to hide it, most stages are combinations of Shadow Gens levels themselves, but I thought I'd point it out because they actually look really good. Nothing feels hastily slapped together, it all looks very coherent. And then there's other stages that don't have level themes from Shadow Gens, so I'm assuming they're Crossworlds assets? Could be wrong, I wouldn't be surprised if they're original visual assets. I mean, the guy modeled and rigged his own Sonic model, so he definitely knows how to model. If a lot of models are made by either him or someone else, to kudos, because they look incredible. All in all, the stages look very good. I don't really like saying something looks official, because most of the time people say that, they're talking about things that look like this, so they just come off as really stupid. But I'll be damned if this doesn't at least look close. Put Shindash down on the Mount Rushmore of Sonic level modders, because already this just mwah, beautiful. I am really excited to get to play these levels whenever they drop, and I can't wait to see what the future holds when it comes to Shindash's level mods. I know this is a pretty abrupt ending, but hey. That's about it for this one. Subscribe if you enjoyed. If you want to go the extra mile, support me on Patreon. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.